watching part 2 of my video on the Ryzen 7 1800X. That's right. If you haven't watched part 1, right now we're going to do the benchmarks. Interesting enough, in part 1 I go through all the components, show you how I put things together. So it's very, very important that you watch part 1 first and then come back here to watch part 2. Here's the list of components that I got to install and have working together. The memory is very important. I have here a specific memory combination that I used after doing a different trial and errors, BIOS updates, things like that. I really found that the single rank 2 DIMM combination gave me the best results at 2667 megahertz. I'm running everything on auto, as you can see here, except for the memory, which is running basically around 3.5 volts. The X for turbo boost that kicks in automatically by itself brought my machine up to 4.1 gigahertz. So you will see some results that provide that. Now, starting with the AIDA64 CPU Queen, you can see here at defaults, those are the scores. Look how well it does against other Intel Core i7 CPUs. And when I locked it in and forced it at 4.1 gigahertz, there are the results. So I did 2 tests, one running it at default here, as you can see in the PhotoWorks results. And then again, I overclocked it to 4.1 gigahertz and forced it. And then, of course, the score gets bumped up a little bit. So depending on what you're trying to do, it might be beneficial to increase and lock it in at 4.1 gigahertz. But, the system runs very well at default, and just letting the boost just kick in by itself, it'll raise it depending on how well your system is cooled to 4.1 gigahertz in my case, right? I have a liquid cooler from Cooler Master, the Master Liquid 240 millimeter radiator in there. So, again, here are the scores. Pause the screen if you're interested in comparing and looking how it stacks up to other CPUs. The main competitor of the 1800X, of course, is the Intel Core i7 6900K, which I will perform some more benchmarks in just a second so you can see how it stacks up against that, and I'm very impressed. So the multi-threaded CPUs are really where it's at when it comes to rendering and coding and doing all these heavy calculations. If you have memory with a huge bandwidth, 3000 megahertz, 3200 megahertz, you're going to have even more value coming out of this CPU. Now with POV RAY, which does a lot of ray tracing rendering, the benchmark here is just to really find out how fast can it do the rendering. How long does it take to complete it, right? So here is an example on using just a single core benchmark, how well it does when I have it at auto, which is in green there, and red, meaning overclocked, and then enabling the multi-threaded benchmark using all cores, all threads. And again, that's where the CPU shines. You don't really need to overclock it, but I included also the overclocking benchmarks, and you can see how it beat the Intel Core i7 6950X. Amazing. 6900K hands down gets beaten on the POV RAY benchmarks that I did. CineBench R11 and R15, you can see here also the rendering benchmarks, CPU only. We're not going to talk about the GPU rendering and how that works, since this is a CPU more intensive calculation. Again, right at the top of the heap here of these compared CPUs for both the single core benchmark and the multi-core benchmark. So keep that in mind. Okay, those are the scores there when I had it overclocked and not overclocked. So you can see some differences. And the encoding, the video encoding benchmarks on the X264, doing the first pass is usually much faster. Second pass is slower, right? More intensive. And those are the scores, again, running at default in green and overclocked in red. And you can see how it beats the 6950X on the video encoding. Very impressive. Very impressive. FutureMark's PCMark 8 does really a well-rounded benchmark on the entire system to kind of emulate regular system usage scenarios. And again, here are the different scores that I got with it not overclocked, so you can see it again how well it performs as is. When it comes to 3D Mark, here are the results. Again, it varies depending on the graphics card that you have, so these results just give you an idea on how well it does. Passmark 9, more specific to the CPU scores, and the 16,000 score is what I got, which is higher than the base result that was posted, so I did very well compared to other systems there. Terrific results on the CineBench score that I got, even when I overclocked it. wPrime does calculations, again, using all threads. Here is the score with it overclocked and not overclocked, so again, you can compare it. And compression and decompression using the zip benchmark. Again, very, very good results here. And again, I'll post a chart so you can get an idea on how well it does at defaults in green and overclocked compared to other CPUs. Pause the screen so you can see this more in detail. CPU-Z has its own built-in benchmark as well, actually. I did those. Here are the results that it gave me. I didn't even need to do anything. I just ran the benchmark. Here are the results. Done. SI Sandra, same deal. The gigaflops operations per second that you get out of the CPU running at defaults. And now some game benchmarks. Okay, I know you guys are interested in this. Resident Evil 7. Here are the benchmarks. Again, when you're running things at 80, 100, 150 frames per second, can you really tell the difference? To be honest, I can't. It's so smooth. The experience is great, especially if I'm running it at 1440p. If you're running it even higher than that, this is where the CPU shines. It doesn't get bogged down. It doesn't get lagged and bottlenecked as much as you would think. So it's terrific for gaming. I don't know why people are complaining this isn't for gaming. I mean, are you really going to tell, oh, this is a slower frames per second? No. It's super smooth. I was fine with it. Online multiplayer, no lag. Lag means really, is your network connection slow? Do you get a good ping? Well, if you have a good connection and you don't have no lag on your network, why would there be any lag and bottleneck with this CPU? We're talking about a CPU that is more than capable and running things on ultra. And that's all I did. Graphics settings are all on the maxed out settings. I don't try to sugarcoat it here and try to make it work better for the CPU. I'm setting it up as is, and I'm just giving you guys the results as they come with nothing else. Battlefield 1 is a recent game that I've been playing as well, and here are some results for you guys so that way you can get an idea on how well that performs. There's another game that's been out for quite some time, Fallout 4, and I've also run that on the ultra high settings so you can see how well that performs as well. And really, when it comes to all these types of games, you have to try different engines, different types of graphic engines, different types of resolutions to really see how it scales. And it's scaling very well here. Again, some games are more demanding than others. These are the most demanding games, to be honest, because there's a lot of stuff going on, including physics, and the GPU is obviously doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. Let's just be honest. But when it comes to bottlenecking, I'm not seeing any bottlenecks going on here. It's really working very nicely, and the system temperatures are very, very good. You can see here right in the BIOS, 36 degrees Celsius there without me doing anything. Of course, I do have the Master Liquid 240 from Cooler Master in there, keeping it cool and quiet. And wattage, 15 watts when it's idle. You can see there the fans, the speeds, temperatures are hovering around 40 degrees Celsius roughly when it's idle. And that, again, is because I got the all-in-one liquid cooler in there. And total wattage on the desktop at the wall is 43 watts, okay, on idle. On full load, it goes all the way up to 75 degrees Celsius, roughly. You can see right there. Total system wattage is anywhere from 155 to 186 watts is what I found there. So again, terrific results from this machine. If you haven't watched part 1, I'll add the link here again so you can watch it. And comment below. Let me know what you think, because the price is right. $499 for this compared to $1,000 and up for other Intel Core i7 CPUs that are really comparable, and this is really giving it a run for the money. Next, I'm going to do an overclocking video. I'm going to talk about the Toshiba NVMe M2 SSD that I've got, and also the Toshiba OCZ VX500. So those are terrific SSDs in this machine. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for watching. Comment below, and thank you.